When you think of global fast food brands, McDonald's is perhaps the first name that pops up in your head. It's everywhere you go. Well, almost everywhere. The company has more than 30,000 restaurants in more than 100 countries around the world and is the largest restaurant chain by revenue. But it might surprise you to know that if you visit some of these countries I'm about to name, you'll find no sign of the iconic golden arches, like Iceland, Bangladesh, or Nepal. More surprising is the fact that only 5 out of 54 countries in Africa have McDonald's locations: Egypt, Morocco, Mauritius, Tunisia, and South Africa. Yes, there's no McDonald's in Kenya, Nigeria, not even in Zimbabwe. Shocking, right? I had a hard time believing it too, but it's true. So, why does McDonald's, a chain that has been so successful in almost every market it has entered, fail to succeed in some of these countries? This is Siddhant, and welcome to a brand new episode of Let's Do Shorts. It might seem obvious that countries like Afghanistan, Iran, and North Korea don't have a single McDonald's outlet operating in these countries. But why doesn't the brand operate in, let's say, Iceland, Jamaica, or Nepal for that matter? While they did enter some of these countries, they failed to stay. For example, it failed in Jamaica because of the size of their burgers. They were just too tiny, and Jamaicans preferred locally sourced meat. The only Latin American country with no McDonald's is Bolivia. McDonald's opened its first outlet in Bolivia in 1997, and there were long lines outside the restaurant from the very first day because it was the place to be at the time. People would go with their friends and family. It was a cool place to hang out. Like India has the Aloo Tikki and the Maharaja Mac burgers, the menu in Bolivia too was designed to appeal to Bolivian taste buds. But after the initial months of hype, the novelty slowly began to wear off. There was growing cultural sentiment against multinational companies like McDonald's. The newly elected president at the time believed that the fast food of the West was doing a great deal of harm to humankind and even said that fast food companies only care about profits and not the health of the people. He even banned Coca Cola in the country in favor of a locally made drink. Then there was also the issue of affordability. When McDonald's first came in, it opened restaurants in the affluent neighborhoods of La Paz, the capital city, where upper class citizens recognized the brand. When it began expanding to other parts of the country, it failed miserably. Considering out of the 11 million people in Bolivia, 63% of the population lived below the poverty line. This number only increased by the time McDonald's packed up and left. McDonald's might feel like cheap fast food to most, but to many Bolivians, it was a luxury. And for Bolivians who wanted a quick meal, street vendors whose prices were a lot lower than McDonald's were plentiful. Bolivians would prefer buying burgers from stalls put up by local indigenous women. They're extremely proud of their food and the culture that surrounds it. For them, their local street food was sacred. Despite tailoring the menu, McDonald's could not offer the same atmosphere and food that the Bolivians wanted. So in 2002, it shuttered all of its 8 stores in Bolivia thanks to politics, culture, and their love for local food. Next on the list is Iceland. McDonald's tried making it in Iceland for over 15 years, but Icelanders have a reputation for leading healthy lifestyles and are one of the healthiest people in the world. When McDonald's first set foot here in 1993, the Prime Minister was captured taking a bite into a McDonald's burger at the grand opening. Brilliant PR for a foreign brand. I mean, can you imagine that happening in India? Of course, in the case of Iceland, it was because the country had just opened up its economy to foreign investment and was becoming more globalized. So it was like a symbol of Iceland entering a modern globalized community from being an isolated island. It did quite well until the global economic crisis in 2008 took the nation by storm. Their currency's value dropped by half and the cost of import increased tremendously. So foreign brands such as McDonald's, who depended on imports, could not make profits anymore without drastically raising their prices. In order to remain in business and make a profit, they would have had to hike up their prices by 20%. And the most popular item on the menu, the Big Mac, would become the most expensive Big Mac in the world. So when McDonald's announced their closure in 2009 due to high operational costs, over 15,000 people lined up to get one last McDonald's meal every single day in the last week of their operation. In fact, this was such a huge deal that the last burger to be sold is still kept in their national museum, along with a side of fries. The outlets still exist in spirit though. They were all renamed to Metro, which became a chain of fast food restaurants that sourced its raw materials locally and still runs to date. Next up is Vietnam. Unlike Iceland and Bolivia, McDonald's still operates in Vietnam, but it's really not working out for them. McDonald's came to Vietnam in 2014 with big ambitions. They believed that they would succeed like they did in other Asian countries like China and Japan and open at least 100 stores. However, they flopped big time. The whole idea about McDonald's is that you go in there to get a quick, inexpensive meal. But what they didn't realize was that Vietnamese food is fast food. On the streets of Vietnam, you can get a bowl of pho, which is essentially noodles and broth, a lot faster than the McDonald's meal and at rock bottom prices. In big cities, the ground floor of many houses are home to such stores and diners. Don't get me wrong, Vietnam loves to spend on food outside the house, but not at fast food chains. They like eating at kiosks and street vendors instead. But why do people in Vietnam have such a strong affiliation to the local cuisine? Well, this is partly to do with the prolonged tensions between the US and Vietnam after the Vietnamese War. It took the nation almost 2 decades to sort things out and start trade. It took McDonald's even longer to come into the country. By the time it opened its first outlet in 2014, they were entering a very crowded market and had to compete with local Vietnamese street food, which people loved. Apart from that, sharing food is a big part of Vietnamese culture. And when you go to a McDonald's, you order only for yourself. Burgers aren't exactly designed to be shared. On top of that, the Vietnamese love chicken. They're not really big on beef. While McDonald's did introduce items tailored to the region, it could not compete with the local fast food scene. Clearly, despite being an iconic global brand, McDonald's has failed in many countries.